By making photos while traveling, we have learned ourselves a lot of tricks that we will share in this video.
These are 10 tips on how we create our Instagram travel photos.
Hey, we're Hannah and Nick, also known as Salt in Our Hair. We're travel content creators.
And we've been posting on Instagram over the last 4 years. Tip 1. Get up early.
So if you're planning to visit a popular place where you've seen a lot of photos on Instagram, or you just know it's a well-known photographed place, make sure to get up as early as possible to have the place to yourself. So the night before your sunrise mission, check the sunrise times online on Google or another website and be there before that time, because once the sun starts to rise, you will have the best lighting until the moment Google says the sun has risen.
Yeah, and it will take around 1 hour. And it will be hard, but remember you have the afternoon off because you already have the shot.
Tip 2.
Think about what to wear. So this is a very important thing for us. We always make sure that our clothing is complementary with the background of the photo. So when we're going to a green rice field or going to be in azure blue water, we always make sure to match our clothes, or actually not match our clothes. No. Because when you're having a green skirt on in a green rice field, you have like half a body.
Yeah, and if you're the size of this in Instagram, you put up the Instagram feed, you see the photos. When you're a tiny person in a photo and you only see the top, and because the skirt is green as well, and it will dissolve in the rice field.
Yeah, exactly. So what we always do is have at least 3 colors with us. So mostly that's white, yellow and orange. Those are mostly colors that always work on every background where we are traveling.
Tip number 3, get a tripod. So whether you're traveling as a couple or alone, if you want to have photos of yourself, it's perfect to have a tripod with you. What we've tried is asking people to make a photo of us, and when you have to position someone with the camera, let him wait until you're at the position you want to stand, then let him make a photo. That usually doesn't work.
No.
So taking a tripod can be quite a hassle. The weight of a camera tripod is between 1 and 3, sometimes even 4 kg.
But there are also way smaller ones that are perfect for your phone.
Yeah, and they are called gorilla pods, and they are usually like the size of this, and you can bend them around poles or whatever.
They're super handy as well.
So if you're planning to travel with a tripod, make sure to check it in your check-in luggage, because it can be quite a hassle depending on the airline you're flying with.
Tip 4. Use a timer or time-lapse function.
Now you're traveling with a tripod, you need something to make a photo of you. So you can either use the built-in timer, which is usually on your phone or your camera. You can also buy a timer. You can make time lapses with it, but we usually use the timer to make photos with the app on distance. You can buy a remote timer anywhere online. We use the Spark from Alpine Labs, where we simply use the remote timer via Bluetooth with our phone to connect and just shoot photos while we're standing in the back there.
Yeah, so when we are standing far away, we still want to have those spontaneous shots. So when we have the camera on time-lapse, we move or walk a little. So for example, my skirt is just moving and we are running. It all doesn't matter. It just can be a spontaneous shot. And that's always way better than just standing in one position.
Tip 5. Shoot RAW. By default, every camera is set to JPEG file format. A JPEG file format is a compressed photo. So when you get the photo out of your camera, you get a very good looking photo, but in fact it's compressed. When you switch your camera from JPEG to RAW, you get much more information in your images. The images are also non-graded, so you won't see any deep colors, but that means there is much more information available in the photo that you can edit with later on.
Yeah, so it's much easier to adjust highlights and white balance, and you can play around with colors in Lightroom. And that brings us to tip 6, edit with Lightroom. We are always using Lightroom to edit our photos. No matter if it's the desktop or mobile version, it's perfect to create your own edit style for your photos.
And we've also created a lot of presets for Lightroom, which we use as a base for our photos. You can use these too, and if you want to check them out, we have linked them down below.
Tip 7. Have patience in crowds.
If you don't have the chance to catch the sunrise or avoid crowds, there are still a few tips to make great travel photos. Imagine a busy street in the middle of a city and you want a photo of the building over there with yourself, in our case Hannah, in front of it. What we usually do is have patience. So Hannah is going to the exact point where I want her in the photo. We line up the camera, we adjust the settings, make sure everything's right. And there's always a moment, whether it's because of traffic lights turning red, you just have a gap. Sometimes you just have a gap of 2 seconds, maybe more, maybe less, where you can shoot the photo. Tip 8, change your perspective. So we have this example of the Colosseum in Rome where we were last week, where it was about 9 a.m. in the morning. We didn't have the time to catch sunrise.
So it was already super busy.
Hannah was standing or sitting on a small wall and the Colosseum was behind her, which created a nice backdrop, but there were loads of people downstairs at the Colosseum, and what we did is changing perspective. So in the video you see when I change my position to a squat, the whole wall is taking up the position where all the people were standing. So the point of changing your perspective is to try to avoid people in your shot and have a great travel photo. Another good example is the photo we took on the bottom of the Colosseum, where loads and loads of people were lining up to get into the Colosseum. We walked up to the flower field. We used those flowers to move the focus of the photo, so you won't directly notice the line of people.
And you might look a bit silly in this position, but the result will be great. Tip 9. Shoot vertical.
So another tip to avoid a crowd is to shoot vertical instead of horizontal. Imagine that same city, that same crowds where we had those 2 seconds to make a photo. When you shoot a photo horizontal, you need much more space without people in it rather than you take the photo vertical. So imagine that 2-second gap that you had. You probably have 3 or 4 seconds when you turn your camera sideways. Another good thing about making vertical photos is that a vertical photo of a 4:5 ratio is the largest size you can post on Instagram.
So your photo gets the most attention.
Tip 10. Use an ND filter. So whenever you find yourself shooting outside in bright daylight, you might want to screw a ND filter on your lens. An ND filter reduces the amount of light that comes into the lens and brings back the color which otherwise were washed out. And you can use a variable ND filter that you can adjust depending on your situation.
So thank you so much for watching and make sure to subscribe.
And let us know in the comments which other subjects you'd like us to cover.
Hope to see you next time. Bye!
Bye!